Former President Jacob Zuma has officially been summoned to appear in the KwaZulu-Natal High Court next week. The state apparently has a list of 207 witnesses who will testify in his trial. Zuma faces charges of fraud, corruption, money laundering and racketeering. Defense attorney Ulrich Roux joins us in studio now. Lovely to have you with us as always, Ulrich.
Thank you. Yeah.
Do you think the former president has a legitimate appeal to be made, or are he and his lawyers abusing the court by bringing this appeal?
Well, let's look at what history shows us, and that is that Jacob Zuma has, throughout the years, delayed this matter and kicked the can down the road at every opportunity he's had. So, you know, I do think in this instance, if the appeal currently in front of the Supreme Court of Appeal in order to set aside the appointment of Shaun Abrams is upheld, in other words, they find that he should never have been appointed the head of the NPA, then there could be a ground for review, because Jacob Zuma will be saying that, well, this person who decided that I must be charged should have never been in that position from the beginning. So how can you now base the decision to prosecute me on what he's decided? But ultimately, at the end of the day, whoever takes over, if there is a new head of the NPA appointed, will reach the same conclusion, I'm convinced. So he might try and delay it in this instance, but at the end of the day, I do think that he's going to have his day in court.
I mean, there's also the issue of the funding of his cases and who exactly is going to pay for these going forward. How important and relevant is that particular case to this appeal he wants to bring?
To a criminal case, not at all. A criminal court will not be bound by the findings pertaining to the payment of his funds and his legal fees going forward. If a criminal court, if a summons has been issued, he needs to appear on the 6th of April in the KwaZulu-Natal High Court, then he needs to appear, regardless of whether his funds are in order, whether there's a debate about who's going to pay for his legal fees going forward. That is irrelevant. A criminal court, if there's a summons issued, it will proceed.
Let's put aside the issue of Shaun Abrams and the security of his position at the moment, Ulrich, and focus merely on the evidence that is available to the state in this trial. How ready are they to proceed with a proper prosecution against Jacob Zuma?
Well, remember that this relates to the 1999 arms deal, and on the facts that the state presented in 2005 when it charged Shabir Sheikh with fraud, they convicted him and he was sentenced to 15 years imprisonment. Of course, there's been all kinds of developments subsequent to him being convicted, but the state successfully proved their case in that instance. The case against Jacob Zuma should not be too different. So from that point of view, the state has already done a large amount of work in preparing the evidence, in making sure that they've got sufficient evidence to prove this case beyond reasonable doubt. And of course, there's additional material that has come forth now in terms of the spy tapes, additional statements. But you know, the state has from the outset said that they are ready. You said now yourself there's going to be 207 witnesses potentially. So, you know, it might take very long, but it does seem as if the state is in a position to prove its case.
In terms of the Shaun Abrams appeal, if we, once again we put that aside, does Jacob Zuma have grounds for appeal?
Well, not at this stage. The NPA has decided that there's a case against him and a case which he needs to answer to. There's a reasonable prospect of a successful prosecution, and the act governing the NPA says that he must then be charged. So at this stage, no. We are not sure what's going to happen on the 6th, whether he will indicate to the court, well, the matter must be postponed for a lengthy period of time because I do intend on bringing a review. But fact of the matter is that on the 6th of April, he does need to appear in court. It will be a first appearance, and it will be to get the matter on the court's roll. So in other words, it's now been placed on the court's roll, and then it could be postponed, as we said now, either for review purposes on behalf of the accused person, or for the state to finalize the investigation, or for the state to possibly join another party, or whatever reason. The most important thing is that on the 6th of April, this matter is going to appear in court, and it will be enrolled on the court's roll, which is a step forward for the NPA.
So it's not an automatic case of, well, Jacob Zuma is certainly going to bring this appeal. The court will have to still pore over evidence to decide whether an appeal could be a legitimate.
Yes, definitely. The terminology appeal is not applicable at this stage even. It's purely a review of Shaun Abrams' decision. That is all that's at stake here. He could, when evidence has been presented and a trial has been led and he's been found guilty, then he could bring an appeal on the findings that he did in fact commit these offences. But at this stage, he has nowhere to appeal to. He must appear on the 6th of April, and then, as I said, he can indicate to the court whether he wants to take the decision to prosecute him on review. But 6th of April, he's going to be in court.
All right, thank you so much for talking to us. Good to have your insight into that story. Defence attorney Ulrich Roux joining us here in studio.